Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I am going to continue my adventures, my journey of miniature painting after a 40 plus year break. And as you can see on the photo here, this is where I finished off. I finished off with the wash phase, which is a going into those deeper crevices with a slightly different color, and you can kind of see some of the highlights if you compare the images. At some point, I am going to take pictures of every stage, and then you can see from. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of the totally grayed out original, but you will be able to see every step of the way through this process. And today I'm going to be doing dry brushing. So, dry brushing is where I'm going to take the original color of the bone, so that's desert sand, and I'm going to take either the number two round flat or the number zero round, and just hit those raised features. So not the indented features. And the way that you do this is I am going to use a paper towel. And what they suggest you actually do here is that you brush off the excess paint from both sides until you get to where it's leaving just like the slightest indication of paint that's on that brush, and then you go in and you're just hitting up those high points on the on the skeleton. So it's meant to just further differentiate the high points from the deeper points. So as you can see on the figure here, I'm going to hit. Um, I'm not going to hit the skull so much because I didn't put that shadowing, in the face, but on its arms, on the upper portions of its fingers, I'm going to look to just hit those without it sinking in so deeply. Um, some of the ribs, I'm going to just touch them up so that the inserts between the ribs stays that slightly darker color. That was a stone mountain, very watered down mountain stone paint, and so on. So this probably won't take very long to do. Um, and I'm going to probably focus on just the um, using the number zero round for this because I'm still not super steady, and I think that will give me a little bit more control. So I'm going to shake this thing up. Just going to use one drop of paint. Remarkably, I'm really surprised. I will bring this up over here. Um, you know, I've never used anything like this, so this is that wet pad acrylic, and the paint from the other day. I mean, is still usable. I mean, this is really. I never got all the air bubbles out. I don't even know how the hell you're going to manage to do that, but I am going to just put one drop of paint here, and that's all I should need for this. And so now I'm going to take this and load up the brush a little bit, and then just brush until I get just the tiniest shade there. And then I'm going to go in. I'm going to try. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to try to just get in here without. I think that's a little too. Nope. All right. I'm just trying to avoid. I don't see how. I'm not going to hit that. That's his shoulder. Get a couple ribs without filling in. Let's try a backstroke on this. Over here. Just a little touch up, that's all I'm doing. Now I know I totally missed. I had to take off a piece leg. It was an excess piece of plastic. So I'm just going to repair that. Just touching it up a little bit. That bone out there needs to be highlighted. And get in there. There we go. Just getting some of that original color back on. I don't see having to really deplete it down so much. That's for the strap. I'm going to get this little skull here on the side of that skull. There we go. I'm trying to hit see this little portion right here, the side of the skull. I missed that originally. His thumb. It doesn't have to be exact, and that's part of the pleasure of this that I have found, is that I do not have unreasonable expectations for myself. This being kind of new. Bone here, I never, like the underneath of the elbow, I did all in stone because I missed it in the beginning. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of this to that, but leave the inside, like in between the crux of the elbow, like just underneath here, still that darker color. But it shouldn't have been gray to mountain stone. It should have been bone to mountain stone. And I'm going to leave the toes. I didn't get that much of the dark tones in there anyway. And they're going to hit these other spots up with a white. That's going to further add to it. So I'm going to let this dry. I think it's kind of a weird thing. Like you would think that, hey, this is you're not looking to add so much color and so much differentiation to it that it's like going from one stage to the next. Like, wow, this really stands out. It's kind of it's a layering, and it's a very nuanced, touch by touch. I do want to get that stone color a little bit darker in that recess, although it's kind of close to what it's supposed to look like. Like you can see the darkness that's inside that rib cage. I think that the one tailbone in the back on this side is a little too dark. So I just changed that a tiny bit. But there we have a dry wash. I still maintained some of those deep recesses, like you could see that here and this bone here. That deep recess is still visible. Certainly on his hands, you can see that it didn't bleed through into there. And there. The next step is really going to, so the next step is going to be a dry brushing the highlight color. And the highlight color is going to be this titanium. Not a. It's called a dragon white, I believe. Yes. So dry brushing highlight color for the bone areas of the skeleton is dragon white. If you use a white paper towel, it will be difficult to see how much paint is coming off the brush when you prepare it. Test it on a darker piece of paper or even your thumb to make sure you remove most paint. And then I'm just going to hit that. So I'm going to do that in this same phase. So I am going to complete the dry brushing part and just highlight a few areas with this new color here. And I'm going to pause this, give this some time to dry up, and I will be back in a couple of minutes, but you won't even realize that. I'll just appear back on screen and going right into this next color, the dragon bone white. Oh, excuse me. Wow. Sorry about that. I should have paused just before that. All right, I'll be right back in a few minutes. Okay, and I am back. My figure has dried, and now I'm going to go into the next step in this, and I am using this time around. It's called it is Dragon White, so you can see the difference between these two here. They say that the Dragon White is actually so light colored that it might be hard to see when there's too much on using a paper towel. So they say to utilize your finger. So you're getting most of it off, and you're just going to highlight so you see the difference between the two here. So I'm just going to hit up and highlight some of these areas here that are just the areas I want some more lightness to it. I want his skull to be a little bit whiter. Maybe it's sun-drenched. And the skull on his shoulder as well. Just a little touch of lightness here and there, just to give it some differentiation. I want to give the impression that the top portion is a little bit lighter than some of the bottom. And here, arm here, his fingers, just dabbing it, just getting a little extra white in there. A little bit on the ribs. didn't mean to get down in there. Easy to fix that. Oh, too much. That's what they mean by, whoa, way too much white. So let's get back in here. Let's just get in there with, get into that original bone color. Okay. I'm gonna have to fix that. I got a little bit too heavy with the white on the leg there. See how that leg just stood out way too much. So what I'm going to do is that one leg, those legs there, I'm going to get back into the original color once it dries, because now it's just going to blend, and I want to hit that back up with the regular bone color again. Just to give it a tiny bit of additional highlight and texture. Tiny bit in that. The rib. Yeah, that came out way too white in there. All right, I'm getting that bone back to some more bone color. That one leg got a little too white. It stands out way too much. I'm liking that back there. Once that dries, it should come down a little bit. But you can see where the other portions of it got a little bit too much in there. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, and I might have to touch up that leg, primarily that leg. Hopefully it dries a little bit more, and I'm kind of touching up these ribs and getting them back to some of their bonier color. I'm not quite sure I like using the dragon white. Yeah, I'm not quite sure I like doing that. I think that it looked a little bit more, it looked a little better the other way. But that's going to be it for the dry brushing. And overall, I like the drier, sandier color of the bone a little bit better than that very light highlight on there. And let me get back into that stone. I got a drop in there. Good, I fixed that. There was a little white spot in the center of them. I'm going to leave it there. So go rinse off my brushes, and we are going to, I'll fix that up a tiny bit once it dries, try to get it more uniform. And then we're on the stage where we are going to, get into, keep on tweaking it. Then we're going to get into the stage where I am going to start. Let's get a little of that sand color on the kneecap. Get it back to its original. So the next phase is going to be doing the base coat on the ground, which will be a green, and then the brown for the bow. The tips will be in silver. The leather strap, that's going to be really difficult for me. And then the rest of the quiver, which actually has like 4 colors to it. It has the quivers, leather, then a silver band on the bottom, like a bluish feathers, a different color brown for the. That's going to be pretty complex. So that will be my difficulty area, is getting that strap and the and those other colors in the back. So I'm not looking forward to it, but hey, it's still coming along, and I am fairly happy with it. I might have to do a little touch up on that on the legs and the bone. Um, yeah, I overall did not like doing the dragon white highlight because it's just too fine a figure in order to get it in there. I got a couple spots of it that, oh, okay, if it's lightened up a little better and has that kind of top down effect that I'm looking for, then great. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and watching my journey and adventures and potentially misadventures. So we're going to see, it's going to be such a subtle difference between this photograph that you see now and this figure that oh, I lost my camera. This figure that is going to look, but I'll do a close-up of it, and perhaps you'll be able to see some of the difference between the two. I'm honestly not seeing it, but that's the next step in this, and I'll see where it goes. I don't see very much of a difference at all. So as always, thanks for joining. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and leave your questions and comments in there, especially if you have any tips or whatever based on this episode. If you saw anything that I could have done better, please feel free to jump in there. And you know, it's an interesting learning curve. To go back into this. When I was a kid, when I was a young teenager. I was probably like 12 or 13 at the most. The last time that I painted, I wasn't that concerned about it. And I'm trying not to be too concerned about, it looking perfect anyway. So I'm trying to maintain my, my being hypercritical of this first one coming through, but I want it to look good when it's all done. So I'm looking forward to the next step. All right. Thanks for joining. Have a great afternoon. Take care.